had a classmate who used a red pen and wrote "die" on her hand. And I said, "Why are you writing that?" She said, "Because I don't want to live anymore." In Asia, there's a lot more people, more competition. If you don't work hard enough, really it's hard to find a good job in the future. We had a nanny who lived in my room. She would listen to me study and then would cry and would say, "I don't want to live anymore. I just don't want to live anymore." I was 11.
Your parents sent you over from China all the way to the US when you're just 12 years old.
When I first came to the United States, I was like, these people are so strange, so weird. I don't know how to be friends with them. I felt like their grandma. Sometimes I still feel like people's grandparents. At that time, I was thinking more about academics. What's something gonna get me to where I want to be in the future? When I was done with my college visit, I was sitting with Wade Gamer. And Wade asked, "How did it go?" And I couldn't say anything. I just started crying. I told him, "I just feel like I'm at home."
Hello, and welcome back to college. I'm back from my spring break, I guess we're calling it, but I've spent the last 8 weeks not posting any back to college episodes. I've been taking a break because I actually had another trip back over to the US. I've spent the last 6 weeks there catching up with friends. I've been in Colorado, South Dakota, Minnesota, and I even spent a few days in Florida before returning back home here to Australia. And just spending that time with friends, I mean, that's what this whole podcast is about. The friends that I met at college from all different corners of the globe, coming together and meeting in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and having maybe not necessarily the best experience, but an experience nonetheless that transformed us into the people that we set out to become. And today is quite a unique episode because this person is a stranger. I only met this person the day before I started recording. I met this person, we were sitting at Augustana on campus in the IPO. So there's a lot of international students walking back and forth, coming in and out. But this person stuck out to me as someone who had a fascinating backstory, and that's what we're going to dive into today and explore her college journey. She struggled from a very young age in China, having a lot of pressure put on her, and she was actually sent to the US for a better life when she was just 12 years old. So that by itself, I mean, I was interested to hear more. And this episode, we're going to explore exactly how this person was able to cope with a change, such as like moving countries from that, like such a young age, and ultimately how she found her home at Augustana University. And at the time of recording, which was almost 1 year ago, this person, she was just on her last year before she graduated with psychology and biology as her majors. So please join me as we try and fit these puzzle pieces together of this person's remarkable college journey. It's time to go back to college with Shirley.
Zach Stevenson, welcome back to Augustana.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Shirley Wang. Thank you so much for joining me. We actually only met each other yesterday.
Yep. Which
is pretty crazy. And I thought, well, there's a little bit of time in my schedule this morning, so why don't we sit down and have a chat? I think it's pretty clear to me that you had an interesting backstory coming to the US, all the way from China. You came here when you were 12 years old.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Did you want to talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I was in China and 7th grade. It was really tough. And during that time, my parents were already thinking about taking my brother and I to United States to study and then just build a life over here. And then after 7th grade, we started doing our visa, started applying to middle schools in United States. And I got my visa first. And so school already started. So my parents said, okay, you need to go to school now. So my brother was still waiting on his visa. And my parents, they were thinking coming to visit, but not really to be with us that long. And so they were still helping my brother to get his visa. So I was on the airplane by myself to California.
That's unbelievable to me. Your parents sent you over from China all the way to the US when you're just 12 years old,
Yeah.
all by yourself to like Arizona, which super nice place. But I mean, still, you first time abroad as well. You just got sent on this plane
Mm-hmm.
to sort of start this new life with a variety of different host families as well.
Mm-hmm. For sure, yeah. So my parents had a friend living in the United States, and they agreed to pick me up at the airport and then take me to school. And so that's why they were able to be okay to send me over just by myself. But it was really fun because I think to a 12-year-old mind, I was thinking about adventure. I wasn't thinking about anything else. And I just thought, this is really great. I'm going to do something new.
So you weren't scared at all?
Not at all.
Really?
Yeah. It's crazy. I remember I was at the airport and I didn't really speak English, so I didn't know what to do. But my parents told me to find somebody and just ask them to take me to where I need to go. So I just communicated with the lady next to me on the airplane. And she said, I'll make sure to point you to the right way when we land. And so we did that. And I just remember meeting some people at the gate where you enter the United States at the airport. And there were some Chinese people, and they were like talking to me. They're like, "Are you by yourself?" And I said, "Yeah." And then I think they were students, so they just started talking about TV shows with me and anime, and so that was really cool.
How nice.
Yeah.
So you didn't even speak English at that point?
Well, I learned English most of my life in China, but I didn't speak any.
Right. Yeah. So because now you just put in this environment where, I mean, like thankfully you found a few Chinese people at the airport,
Mm-hmm.
but you're coming to an English-speaking country, which would have been very difficult not having true practice actually speaking the language.
It was pretty difficult. When I came to the United States, I actually came to middle school late. I was about maybe a month late into school. And so got to school, and the first day, like I was dropped off in the morning by my parents' friend. And I know that night I'm going to leave. I'm going to be leaving with one of the students when she gets picked up and live with her and her family. And so I wouldn't say I was scared, but that first day was hard because I was in class and I had no idea what was happening. And I'm not sure if this was the first day or sometime during the first week, but I really needed to use the restroom. But I didn't know how to say, I need to use the restroom. Didn't know how to say restroom.
So what did you do? Oh my God.
And I just waited and waited because sometimes my teacher would ask me, Shirley, do you need to use the bathroom? Like they asked me once, but I forgot the word. So I was just waiting for them to ask me and I would say yes, because I can recognize it when it was spoken to me. But they didn't ask me. And so I just waited until the end of the day. I was almost crying. I was talking to my teacher. I said, I need to, I just didn't know what to say. And then my teacher was really patient and she said, do you need this? Do you need this? Do you need this?
Just a whole list of like, what possible needs could this girl want?
Yeah. And then finally she said, do you need to use the bathroom? I said, yes. And then she taught me to say the restroom. She said, and then she taught me how to say it. And then she had a student take me to where the restroom was. And it was pretty tough. I went home and I cried and I talked to my mom on the phone.
And that was the first day, was it?
I think it's
one of the first few days of middle school.
One of the first few days, yeah.
See, to me, that's a very uncomfortable and difficult situation to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't even have your parents with you as a support to at least go home at the end of the day, but you didn't have anyone to sort of rely on. So it's kind of very challenging for you to just be put in that environment and work it out for yourself at such a young age as well.
Yeah, it is pretty hard. I think it's always pretty hard coming to a new country. I think at that time, Guess the hard thing is, because you're feeling kind of helpless. Um, but I think I don't know. It's now when I look back at it, I kind of forgot how hard it was to come to a new country. Like, and now I'm used to living in the United States, but if I really like try to remember, it was not easy to adjust and learn the language and make friends and all of the things I think as a young person goes through. Going through that at the same time as culture shock was pretty difficult.
Oh, yeah. So how did you actually get through that time then?
Um,
Was there any sort of strategy or coping mechanism you had, or was it just, I mean, just letting the time kind of tick by and just because I think seemingly like there's not really that much you can do in that situation. It is just naturally going to be very uncomfortable and very difficult for a while until you actually get acclimatized to a new country.
mm-hmm, for sure. So after the first month or two, my mom came and she did a visitor visa, so she was able to stay for almost half a year. So we got an apartment and then we started living together. My brother was there too. And so it was nice to be able to speak my own language at home. But in terms of with school, I just didn't speak. I just didn't say anything. I just waited for the clock to point to 3 and then I can go home. But I think that time, I think I was like a lot of young people my age at that time in China. When I was still in China, I was watching a lot of TV shows and anime. And during that time, I would go to school and come home. I kind of just watch shows, look at my phone. I didn't have a phone for a while, but then when I came to America, my mom allowed me to use a phone. And so, I was just on the screen all the time, which wasn't really good, but it kind of just helped the time to pass.
Well, it seems very isolating and just very difficult for you to make friends. So I'm assuming eventually you were able to make a few friends. So how did that sort of come out?
Yeah. So 7th grade, 8th grade, could not really make friends, but I had one Chinese friend, somebody whose English was better than me. So I came in as this 8th grader, but I couldn't really understand anything. But then in 7th grade, there's this guy who spoke English pretty well, and my teacher asked if I wanted to be pushed back a grade so that I can have somebody to help me with the English. So I said, yeah, I'll do that. And so I actually dropped a grade when I came to the United States. And then this friendship was really helpful. I just spoke with him all the time. And then there's a guy from Vietnam who I'm not sure if he grew up in the United States. I think he did. So he was really kind. He's a friend as well. But besides that, both of them were boys. So sometimes we can get really silly as middle school guys.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't really want to hang out with them all the time. But I didn't really have other people. My teacher would talk to other students to say, you should go talk to Shirley. She's really alone. And they would come and talk to me. And I think the kindness from these students was really meaningful. I knew they had really good intentions. I couldn't really communicate with them, but eventually, when I learned English more and more, just those friendships developed more and more.
I think it is incredibly hard to form true relationships if you can't communicate with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And so not being able to speak English, does affect basically everything while you are in a different country.
Yeah.
Because you're not able to connect with people and build friendships, which is, my time here at Augie, for example, is what I cherish the most, is all the friendships that I built. So not being able to do that, I could imagine that, again, extremely tough situation for you.
Hmm.
So I wanted to ask, what was the idea behind sending you to the US by yourself when you were 12 years old?
What was the idea?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Why did your parents do that?
Um, so my parents have a family friend. They came to United States first, and then they started talking about how, like, they started telling us about what it's like here, and they just kind of gave my mom an idea that maybe they could maybe my parents can send us over here too. Eventually they did, I think, because of how we were in middle school. So, um, so the middle school I went to was really tough. I think most schools in China is pretty tough, but the school I went to was particularly tough for me because I didn't feel like I was smart enough to go to that school. And so I went through a year, like I would like study all the time. Mostly, sometimes I procrastinate because I didn't want to study anymore. But usually I went to bed between 11 p.m. to 1 or 2 a.m. In middle school. And I would need to wake up around 6 or 6:20 to go to morning class before breakfast. Um, I don't know. I don't think we came back for breakfast, but we had regular classes. But my teacher wanted us to go in a class period early so that we can prepare for class for the day. So instead of going to school at 7:50, he wanted us to be at school by 7 or 7:10. And
So
so
really early in the morning, first thing.
yes, yeah. So I remember during the time we had a nanny who lived in my room, and then she would listen to me study, and I would cry and would say, "I don't want to live anymore. I just don't want to live anymore." And then so she told my mom, and my mom was like, "It's not good."
What? So this is back in, you would have been 10 or 11 years old.
Yes, I was 11.
Really? And you had that amount of pressure on you to study at that age?
Yeah, I kind of blame it on my parents because they expect a lot of me, and then it makes my teacher think I'm really capable, like more capable than I am. And then when their expectations are up there, it's just a lot of stress for me.
Wow. I mean, that's a lot for me to process because I remember my primary school years around that age were very chill. It was, we'd go to school, there would never really be any homework or anything. I was free to go play basketball and do other things after school.
Hmm.
But for you, it seems like you were just school 24 hours a day,
Hmm.
just trying to get the best grades possible, which I think at that young age, it's very different culture to what I'm used to back in Australia, and even here in the US, it's quite a lot different too.
For sure. I think it's probably an Asian thing. But in Asia, there's a lot more people, more competition. So depending on where you are, the people around you, like if you don't work hard enough, um, really it's hard to find a good job in the future. And just for survival, people have to do this. And so I admire my classmates who went through everything and actually finished middle school and high school in China. But I'm really grateful. I'm able to come here to United States and be away from the pressure.
Yeah, totally. And that time when you're sort of having those thoughts, like saying, I don't want to be here anymore, I think as a parent, that would be very hard to deal with as well.
Hmm.
Because they're ultimately pushing you and got you into a really good school because they want to see you succeed.
Hmm.
And for you to sort of be struggling along, I think I think it's a testament to your parents to say, hey, we need to change something here because this isn't going the direction that we want it to go, and it could end very badly as well.
Yeah, it's true. I had a classmate, had a friend who used a red pen and wrote "die" on her hand. And I said, "Why are you writing that?" And she said, "Because I don't want to live anymore." And so, yeah, like I forgot about that. It's really a lot. But I know that in China now it's changed quite a bit. I haven't been back home for a while, but I know my cousins, um, right now it's like it's not allowed for students to go for extra school than regular school time. I think it's because it's been unfair for people with more money to be able to do it, and then people with less are not able to. But also, I don't know the whole reasoning behind it. But now, like, we used to go to school Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday we do tutoring classes, and so. But now tutoring classes are illegal, so kids actually have more time. I don't know if they're living, they feel much better. I hope they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Shirley, did you want to talk a little bit about the difference in culture in China, sort of during those younger years at school, and then also compare it to your time here in the US during middle school?
Yeah. So when I first came to the United States, I was like, these people are so strange, so weird. I don't know how to be friends with them. Felt like their grandma. Sometimes I still feel like people's grandparents.
Is that because they're just sort of immature, just doing, I don't know, fun things that kids do?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you had maybe more discipline from the background that you've come from.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of why you became the grandma.
Yeah, I think so. When I was in middle school, I remember like coming to the United States, I felt when I was in China, being 12 years old meant you're expected to be almost like an adult. That's how I felt. But here, being 12 years old is just crazy. People just are so silly, talk about things that just don't make sense to me. And like my brother said, people are a bit too immature for him to feel like he can belong to this place. And that's how I felt too. But I think in terms of culture, that's a big part. But I think kids here, what I saw, they were more carefree, and that's something I didn't experience when I was still at home. So like didn't have too much to worry about. I'm sure they have things they worry about, but just very expressive.
I think particularly in America too.
Yeah, for sure. Like when they're happy, they're super happy, and they're really curious, and they like to talk to people, new people. But in China, it's a little bit more reserved, and people are more to themselves and less social than the people that I met in the United States.
Yeah, very different, like very totally different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So, well then, Shirley, which one do you prefer? Do you think the Chinese culture or the US culture is better?
I would, if I have to live everything again, I will always come back to the United States. I don't think my life was going to a good direction when I was still at home. I wasn't happy, and I wasn't seeing much future. It was just darkness that I could see. But coming here, really a gift for me. I think for one is like actually just living like just being who I am. Like people give me the time just to develop in places I needed to be. Like I remember in 7th grade, one time we're doing after school program, and then there's this teacher was asking people like she was talking about something. She's talking about how some children, like, they don't feel like they're children anymore and how sad it is. And she asked around the table, and then she asked, "Are you a child?" And they would be like, "Yeah, I'm a child." Because they're still a child. They're like 11 or 12 years old. And then she asked the next person, "Are you a child?" And they said yes. And then at the end, she asked me. I was the last one. And then I was like still fighting that. I was conflicting because I was taught to be an adult, and which is true. Like, I think that's what I felt like I should be at, but also really wanted to be just a child. And so I was thinking really hard, what should I say? Because I was going through that battle inside.
Yes. So what did you say then?
And then finally said, I'm a child. And that was really nice. It's like going back to childhood, coming to middle school here. And so I really enjoyed it. And I feel like that's what I needed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it's like to grow up in a place like China where you have those really high expectations put on you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's getting phased out? And even the example that you gave before, that it's illegal to do these extra tutoring sessions on the weekends, do you think that culture will last, or will it sort of turn into more what we see in the Western world with this more like let kids be kids and then, I don't know, let them figure it out as they get older?
I think certain countries don't have the luxury to do that. So I think in some Western places, there's the standard of living is good enough where you can have the luxury to tell your kids just to explore, like do these things and just have fun and then figure life out. But I think in some countries, living is really has a lot of high pressure. And you don't want your kids to like live through things that it's like they really have no other choices in their lives. And so it makes sense that in China, like there's so much pressure. And similarly in like India, in Korea, all of these Asian countries where the population is really large and the resources are shared, like there's less resource for individuals. So I don't know how it will change. I don't think it will become like the Western culture. Maybe it will be less extreme in the future, and that's my hope.
I think that was the sort of the point that you touched on, that it's not really a choice. It's just because it's so competitive to find good paying jobs. And that's why, kids start getting all this extra learning earlier and earlier on, is because they just need to be able to compete with everyone else to be able to afford a life of probably the more luxury and the more privileged. I think it's, for someone like myself, I have to admit that I very much come from a place of privilege. I've always felt like I've had all the opportunities that I've sort of needed or wanted, and I have the freedom to be able to choose whatever work that I want to do and whatever career to pursue. And so it is really interesting that you've shared that point, that the culture is often, not so much a choice, it's just how it is because of what people are trying to achieve in their lives. They got to compete against other people.
True.
Well, that's really great that you were afforded the opportunity to come to the US then. Yeah,
it's really a gift. I always think back to it, and I think I just always thought this is actually my second life. Like it's a new life, and it really is. So I'm really grateful. I'm really blessed to be able to have that.
Perfect. And well, we wouldn't have met if your parents hadn't sent you over here.
It's true.
That's amazing. So what's happened since high school? You obviously made it to Augustana at some point. So how did that whole thing come about?
Well, everything for Wade Gamer. Everything's because of Wade.
Shout out Wade.
Yes, I love Wade. He's the reason I came to Augustana. So I was still in high school in Arizona, where I have no idea of what's out there, and people had never heard about Augustana in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But I found it because I was interested in their engineering program, the dual degree program, where you go to Augustana for 3 years and then transfer to another college to complete that degree. And I was interested in engineering at that time. And so I applied, and I wasn't thinking of coming because I applied because you don't need to pay application fee for the school. So I just applied and I thought, okay, why not? But then Wade reached out to me, and he's just really cool. He said he's been to China and he has WeChat, and he like added me on WeChat too. But then what really caught my attention is he would write his emails and he would have smiling faces, emojis, in like every paragraph what he
Every
writes.
paragraph.
Yeah. Like as a senior in high school, I was intimidated by college counselors because I just felt they're just really serious people. They're trying to find your fault, trying to like put you down. That's how I felt.
And trying to stress test you a little bit to see if this student is actually, worthy enough to come to our college.
Yeah, that's how I felt. And sometimes I would email them. It would take them a month to reply me. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I already don't need the question anymore and the answer anymore. But Wade always responded like the second day. He's just really cool. And so I never thought I would come to visit Augustana, or I planned to visit some schools, but I never thought I would pay much attention to Augustana. But because of this smiling face emojis, I thought, okay, I had to check it out. I had to see what Augustana looks like. So I flew from Arizona to Sioux Falls. And I asked if I can stay for 2 nights and then go to some classes to see what they're like. So
you got to do a visit.
Yes. So this is actually probably your senior year, actually. So I don't think I ran into you. Mm-hmm. But I came and I stayed in the same room with Brittany. And
you were with Brittany, were
yes.
you? So in the dorm room?
Yep, in the dorm room.
Oh my gosh.
She hosted me. And Brittany was so sweet to me. On the same day I came, it was close to Thanksgiving. And Brittany and Sasha, they made pumpkin pie together.
Ooh, delicious.
They invited me to go have pumpkin pie. And for that, they also invited Marcus.
Just listing all my podcast guests and all my friends that I had at Augie.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't remember who else were there. I think Harley might have been there. And that's all I remember. And I remember the second day I went to the dining hall and Wade was there to check on me. And then I met with Taha and
another guest?
Yes. I saw Harley again. And then I met I sat next to these exchange students. And I was asking them, what do you think about Augustana? And they're like, we are so sad we're going home. We don't want to go home because we love this place. We met friends that we can be friends forever. And that just really touched me. And then I went to some classes during that day. I went to a class taught by Dr. Minister. That was really cool. And I think I also went to a chemistry class because I was interested in sciences and engineering and all of that.
I was going to ask you, during this sort of visit, what were you actually looking out for in a college?
Great question. I think at that time I was thinking more about academics, more about, is this program really good? Is this what's something going to get me to where I want to be in the future? But during the college visit, I just unexpectedly saw something really beautiful. I saw the community and I saw how welcoming they were to me. And so I remember when I was done with my class visits, I was sitting at FSC on the 3rd floor by where the stained window glass is, where you have the table and the booth to study. I was sitting at the table with Wade Gamer. And Wade asked, how did it go? And I couldn't say anything. I just started crying. I told him, I just feel like I'm at home. I feel like it was, this was right before Thanksgiving break. I told Wade, I feel like I'm just going home tonight or tomorrow morning with all the other students and coming right back after break. I feel like this is exactly where I needed to be. And I was crying, and Wade almost cried too. I think he actually cried, and he gave me a hug.
I'm tearing up as you're telling me this story. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful experience as well. All the way from the top, from Wade, first introduction with the emails, and then all the amazing students you met on campus as well.
Mm-hmm. It's yeah, I feel like Augustana is like yesterday we talked about it, but Augustana is a dream to me. It's just so beautiful. That night, I went back to the dorm and I just talked with Brittany, and Brittany just said, like, thank you for visiting. Like, I know Augustana is not one of those Ivy League schools that's really famous, but she just told me like what she appreciated about the community. When I was leaving, I was still thinking about, I don't think I'm coming here, but I'm really glad to have visited. But I just could never forget it. It's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just like I always thought back to Augustana when I was thinking about other universities. And eventually I just decided to turn down other universities and just say, I'm coming to Augie.
Just left that much of an impression that you couldn't say no.
Mm-hmm.
So what other colleges were you looking at? Were you looking at some bigger ones?
Some bigger ones. I was looking at University of Arizona in Tucson. A lot of my friends from high school were going there, and my brother was going there too. And there's a guy I had a crush on was going there too.
Oh,
so I thought, yeah, I was really conflicted.
So that was sort of where it would seemingly where you would probably end up then.
Yes, but also complicated things. There's a lot of reasons to stay there, but I also just wanted to go away from Tucson. Just some relationship problems and things that just give me a lot of stress. I just didn't know how to deal with them. And so I wanted to go as far away as possible. So, but it was still a conflicting choice. Besides that, I was looking at Penn State. Applied to some other colleges, but I don't think I paid much attention to them because I didn't even know those colleges. There's one called Willamette or something, and they sent me like a scarf from their university for like I think applying to them. But
that's cute.
Yeah, it is. I don't think I have the scarf anymore. But I think the main thing is between Augustana and U of A. So these two places.
You chose Augustana.
I chose Augie.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And so did you already have in mind what you wanted to study while you were coming here?
Mm-hmm. So at that time, I applied to Augie thinking about engineering. But then when COVID happened, well, before COVID happened, I was doing engineering club at my college, at my high school. And I thought it was so boring. And so I didn't think I wanted to do it. And so that's, I think, part of, like, didn't know where to go. But then I was listening to a TED Talk by a psychiatrist. And I thought, I really want to do what he does. And so I decided to do pre-med. And that's when I found out Augustana is a really great place for pre-med students. Like Wade told me too, and this is in the stats, where like the regular enrollment, like the percentage enrollment is like about 40% or something. The students will actually make it to medical school. But at Augustana, it's about 80% to 90% students.
Wow, there you go. That's a pretty compelling offer.
Yeah, it is. So I came and decided to be a pre-med student. And obviously, I didn't end up as a pre-med student, but it was really fun.
Because you're a senior, so you've got one semester to go.
Mm-hmm.
What are your majors? You've got psychology, which is one of them. I was a psych major.
Yeah.
What else?
I had biology. I didn't want to drop biology. I think bio department has a special place in my heart. And also have neuroscience minor and philosophy minor. These are
excellent. That's very fancy. And so you wanted a good education, and so that's why I've come to Augustana.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the classes while you were here?
So, classes are challenging. Augustana actually, even though it may not be one of the highest ranking colleges, Augustana academically is very demanding. I wouldn't say demanding. They really want you to do well and challenge yourself academically. So this is something that if I went to U of A, I may even have easier classes than here. And that's kind of cool. I feel good that I'm at a place where they expect a lot of me academically. I think there were some classes that were hard to get through, that were just not as interesting. But it's probably true for no matter what, what college you go to.
Were they some of the biology classes? Because biology wasn't my favorite thing.
Oh, did you take biology?
I took the intro class.
Okay. 110 or 120?
It would have been 110, I think.
Okay. I love biology classes, but there's some biology classes that were really hard to go through.
So what were the toughest classes for you then? Or the ones that maybe didn't enjoy?
Yeah.
Most?
I don't want to say them because I respect my teachers. I just don't want to say them.
I think that's the thing. It's because at a liberal arts college, we get to do a whole bunch of other electives that can really be off center for what we initially planned to actually pursue as a major. So I think it just comes down to personal preference as well.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't start wanting to do philosophy or neuroscience. But neuroscience came really, really conveniently because I didn't need to really take any classes for it because bio and psych really have a lot of courses for that already. And philosophy because of Dr. O'Hara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I didn't have Dr. O'Hara. I had Dr. Swanson. I remember having a really good philosophy class with him. I used to love those classes because just the class discussions and sharing of opinions and ideas just really, for me, just like really opened up my mind and just got me thinking in different ways.
Yeah.
So what did you like about those philosophy classes?
Well, I actually haven't taken much. I have taken logic with Dr. Minister, and I took our philosophical heritages with O'Hara. And I think what I really like is because I think my personality, I struggle a lot with existential questions, especially before this year and last year. And so no matter what I do, I just struggle with, why am I here? What's the purpose of my life? And I just don't feel like I can do anything until I find out these questions.
I think they're the important questions to ask as well. I think potentially a lot of people don't take the time to consider those, which is fine. And I think as we move through life, we gain experience and that can help us to navigate those bigger questions. But I think ultimately it is really important to put things into perspective and sort of maybe even trace out your whole life and where am I going to end up, and is that sort of the path that I want to be on?
It's true.
Because that guides everything.
Yeah, it really is. And so I think the philosophy courses were really good for me because I started to find out these answers for my life, and seeing other students wanting to talk about these topics was really a big deal for me. And yeah.
Yeah, huge. And so, Shirley, have you been a part of any other sort of activities, clubs on campus?
Oh, yeah.
Or is there a lot, is there?
Well, okay, there's one. I've been the president of bike club since freshman year.
Really?
But it's been a mistake.
A mistake?
Yeah.
Were you not the president?
Well, it's the mistake because it's just been okay. So this is what happened. While I still wanted to become an engineer, I was so in high school, my teacher took me to a bike repairment place, and we learned how to repair bikes, and I thought it was really cool. So when I came to Augustana, do you know Mason Blue by any chance?
No, I don't.
Okay. But he was the president of bike club, and I thought, this is really cool. I want to continue learn how to fix bikes. And so I just emailed him and said, do you need a volunteer? Like I can come and help. And he said, sure. And then, so we did some fixing bikes. But then that's when I realized I forgot completely how to do bike mechanics. And so we were watching YouTube videos, and some of them I was doing by myself. And I just thought, okay, I actually don't know how to do this. But I was so excited about the club that when Mason graduated at the end of my freshman year, I said, I can take over your club for you if you don't have anything else, if you don't have anyone else lined up. And he said he'll get back to me. And eventually, before he graduated, he said, yes, I'll take up on this proposal and you can be the president of this club. And then that's just when everything, that's like kind of like a place of shame for me, actually, because I don't know how to be a leader. I didn't know, and I don't think I still know that well. I'm growing in that, but I did all of the work by myself, which is not much, a lot of work, but not much got done. And we were inactive for a couple of years.
So what do you have to do as like being the president of the bike club? What sort of jobs do you have to do?
Well, so sophomore year and junior year, my main thing was to get the bikes fixed. So I don't know if you remember, but there's some bikes at campus safety. They used to be at campus safety where students can check out.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. They're still in use, but they're now moved in Alman Center. But my job was, I was doing some pretty difficult courses, but I would like finish my homework around 11 p.m. or midnight, and I would go to campus safety and I would say, can I get a key for this bike? I'm going to go fix it. And I would go to the bike shop and go fix them. But I didn't know how to fix them. So I would watch YouTube video while fixing them. So I would do that. And that's my job. And once in a while, I would email the members of the club. I didn't really do that.
So it might have been good to sort of delegate a few roles and sort of build it as more of a community as opposed to trying to just do it by yourself.
It's true. I didn't really learn what it means to delegate or find people to help you and work together. Luckily, eventually, I think at the end of sophomore year, there's a student, Janae. She is the president of Augie Green, and she offered to help me. And so she and I met with Mark Hecht at Alman Center, and we just talked for a year about what we can do to get the bike club together. And now we have 4 students who are going to be the next generation after me.
Oh,
and
nice.
I'm glad leaving behind 4 people instead of just 1 person to carry on the work. And I had to admit, I still like, there's some work I needed to do at the end of the semester, but I haven't gotten to them. I haven't been doing really great still.
That's okay. It seems like you're learning though. And I know from personal experience, it is hard often to delegate roles. If you want to dive into that deeper, especially when it comes to all this video podcast production as well,
Mm-hmm.
I find it difficult to let go and let someone else edit it, for example, even though that may take the longest amount of time. But I just want that sort of control and that creative control. It's often easier for me, instead of trying to explain it to someone, I'll just say, screw it, I'm just going to do it myself.
Mm.
When in reality, if I had someone on board that I could train up, then we could have that working dialogue and we'd get more stuff done, really.
So are you overcoming this right now?
Slowly, I would say. I think mentally, yes. I think I can see a bit more of a split in my work of the things that become more clear to me what I actually want to spend my time doing and what I am actually willing to let go of and let someone else do.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think it's progressing for sure.
Mm. Well, I hope both of us get there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're leaving a legacy of 4 people as opposed to 1,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's growth.
It's
a step
true.
in the right direction.
Yeah, it's true.
Any other activities or things you're part of at Augie?
Well, I used to work at the IPO.
Yeah.
That was a big identity for me. I worked.
You at the front desk, were you?
Yes and no. I was a work study student kind of thing, but they when I was a freshman, I think they got approved to hire an international student. And so I applied and started working here.
Excellent. And how was that experience for you?
Man, that kind of defined my Augustana experience, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Freshman year, first semester, it was right when when COVID was coming to an end in a way. I think at least for Augustana students, because we're all coming back, and so for me, it felt like unreal, surreal. I was talking to people after so long. I was meeting new people. So I lived in a way like I was just out there trying to get to know everybody. And so when I took the position in IPO, I felt that just kind of continued it. I was always looking out for international students, getting to know them, remembering their names, and then all of that, trying to take care of them. And it was really fun. And I think it was an advantage to be an international student and an IPO worker because I know the things international students go through and the places that they need help at. And so, like, I was taking care of the work at the office, but I thought this is not just a job. This is a role in the community. And so outside of work, I was paying attention to international students and what they needed. So this is like my thing at Augustana. And I really loved it.
I think it's an awesome community that has been built here, the IPO.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just met yesterday and we just hit it off straight away.
Mm-hmm.
And we just connected very deeply, very quickly.
Yeah.
I think it's just that sort of environment and that group of people that is, so special. And one of the reasons that I've come back and why I've really enjoyed my time being back and just hanging out in this office and just meeting students like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's so rewarding.
Yeah. Yesterday I told Heather and Aaron something. I don't think I told you, but what I see about IPO, it's like a sitcom or a TV show. And every semester you have these group of new people, and then you have all these stories and all these things happening. At the end of the semester, some people graduate, some people finish their exchange program, and they go, and that's like the end of the season. And the next season come back, and there's new people, new stories, and just a lot of fun things. And then that comes to an end.
I think that's so true. That's very much what it feels like.
Yeah.
You just get a whole bunch of different new characters as well, just come through every semester. Some people stay, some people go, and everyone sort of changes as well during their journey here. For
sure. I remember sophomore year, sending away those exchange students. I felt like I was like a character, like a background character in the show, and I was there, and then these are the characters who are coming and leaving, and I was sending them away. And I had this feeling that eventually I'm going to be the one who's going to be sent away. And I just thought, oh my goodness, this is really I don't know if it's real or not. Like my Augustana experience has just been just so amazing. Just the love and the feeling of community and family. And like yesterday we talked about it. I just always thought when I graduate, I would always look back and think, did this really happen? Or is this a dream?
That's exactly how I feel, honestly. I think, especially spending a lot of time at home for the last 3 years back in Australia, I had so much time to reflect on my time here at Augie, and it does, the amount of time that passed, I was considering, did that even really happen? It just seems so different to the life that I lived back in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is honestly the best 4 years that I had in my life so far, and I think there's a good chance that that could be true for the rest of my life too.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels really great to be back, and almost does feel like I'm walking into that dream. So it almost doesn't feel real sitting here talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's spectacular.
Yeah, it's amazing. I feel like it's kind of like magic of Augustana.
And so, Shirley, you've got one more semester left.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to ask you, my favorite question on the podcast is, what letter grade would you give your experience at Augustana so far? Because I guess you haven't graduated, so you can't give the full mark yet, but so far up until this point in your senior year.
Wow. That's a hard question. What letter grade to give my experience here? Okay. Man. I don't know. I feel like I would just do SU and I would say S.
Just a pass
Pass.
or fail.
Yeah. It's too hard to give a grade. I think Augustana for me had its ups and downs, and so I can say it's perfect. So it's not an A plus, but it's perfect in a way that it's just been a lot of growth, and even the times that were down, and I feel like I matured from it. So I can't really give it a low grade because I have grown from it. So I'll say it's pass.
Got to give a letter though. I don't think I'll take a pass.
Okay.
But that's good. And I think
Yeah.
it's interesting point because I don't think that there is a perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to say that everything just lined up, the universe, the stars and everything, and it was just the most magical 4 years and everything went extremely well and you just grew perfectly. I don't think that really exists, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the experience that you had, I mean, it is a subjective mark too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, feel free to give it whatever you feel is right.
Okay, if I had to give one, I would say an A minus.
Yeah, okay. So what were those things then that sort of maybe hesitate you to say, like, this was the greatest experience ever? Maybe some of those harder times that you dealt with.
Well, I think the last year or so, it's been a shift in my experience here. Or ever since freshman year. I think with the international community, it's been wonderful. So that I would say an A. But for Augustana in general, some people were really important to me, and friends that were really important to me. But I seen how relationships were broken, friendships were broken, and so that's been a heartache for me. And there are people I really care about, and I see that some students in the community are not treating them well. And so that made me realize, wow, I thought I knew Augustana, but I don't. And I think one of my saddest moments is Wade leaving. And now Ben is not here anymore either. So, like, what I knew of IPO is still really great, but it's different from what I used to know about IPO. And so that's just, I think it's just seeing both sides, and the nostalgia holds me back from saying, like, giving a perfect score.
Well, that's a hard one because naturally, especially at this university, there's so much growth that's happening. And so much has happened the years that I haven't been here as well. I come back, there's almost this $5 million hockey stadium built.
Yeah, and then there's one more thing. I don't know if you remember of the tree that was right outside of humanities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that tree actually meant quite a bit for me, for a lot of students. They cut it. And so actually now I came to term with it. I really appreciate hearing students like having fun on the grass and then they're like kicking soccer balls around. I really appreciate that. But I really miss, the tree really meant something. I actually wrote an essay about it.
Did you really?
Yeah, and it's published in the Augustana Venture, the magazine. And so, but I think I was speaking for a lot of people.
Is there an online link to that article?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to put that down below so
Yeah.
people can have a read.
Yeah.
That's
good.
very interesting. And I think just the amount of change that's happened is crazy. And I think it's hard for us to hold on to that nostalgia feeling when so much change is happening. But I very much feel this visit and my time here at Augustana this time is naturally different just because there's a whole new different group of students. So I don't feel tied to the school in that way. And just seeing the change, it sort of has allowed me to realize that it's okay, like things are just moving on and you can remember the time that you had here, but it just naturally will never be the same.
True. Now, like speaking to you, I'm realizing that, like, although memories are really beautiful, but we're not meant to be living memories and mourning what we lost. But changes happen for a reason. It's always about what can we do now with the change, and what's the best things are coming now. Because eventually, right now will not be a change in the future, and then we'll be mourning this time right now. So, and now, like after we're speaking about this, I realize right now it has its own merits.
For sure. And so we're speaking about all the past, present, and future. What is actually the future for you, Shirley? Because we had a bit of a talk about this yesterday and you're a little bit unsure and asking some big questions of yourself. What is it that I'm going to do after I graduate?
That's such a big question. When I was in high school, I always knew what I was going to do in the future. But now, I'm in college. Like I actually have no idea. I don't even know what I'm going to do next year. But there's some ideas, like general ideas and directions. So I know that eventually my dad is going to come and visit. And eventually my family may be moving over to the United States. And I think a big thing is, how can my parents establish themselves when they don't really speak English or have a career here? So my dad is a business person and I'm very much not, but my friend encouraged me that I can be there to help him through and to help him, like if he wants to be here, to help him with the English and the projects that he wants to work on. And I think it's kind of exciting if he wants to start a business here and I can see what it's like to do a business. I'm willing to spend some energy in that.
That sounds like a good opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm sure your dad would very much appreciate it too. And you mentioned just before we started recording that your mum came here early in the year.
Yeah.
So she's now living here.
She is. And she's a nurse here. And she was a nurse in China. And so she's enjoying her job pretty well.
But she's struggling with a bit of culture shock because her English isn't quite up to speed yet. So she can do a few basic sentences to get by, but she's still got a lot to learn and a lot to sort of acclimate to for being here in the middle of the US.
Yeah, for sure. I think now, like, having lived with my parents for years, now living with them, I'm realizing, like, I have responsibility for my parents. And I was running away from that for a while. But now I realize I'm going to be here. I need to be here and take care of them because they have taken care of me so much. But not so much that I'm going to give up everything that I've been working towards. So something else for the future is I always wanted to be a counselor, a therapist. I think I still want to be. I'm not sure what that would look like, but I think I would want to go to school to become a counselor. And I can do different things. I can do the business with my dad and then do this on the side. And so I like to do, I just like to have variety. So I think that would be a good balance.
Yeah. And you told me yesterday that you're really struggling with the idea to go down that counseling route.
Yeah.
Because since your parents have given you this opportunity to come to the US and also attend college here at Augustana, you've decided that that's sort of the route that you want to take, but maybe the pay isn't as good as maybe what your parents want. And it's this interesting idea of the individualism versus sort of the collectiveness as well. And so from China, that typically the culture would be to look out for your family and do what's best to provide for them.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe more so in America, it's a little bit more individualistic. And you're thinking, well, this is what I want to pursue with the counseling. So like, that's what I feel like I should do. But then when you factor in your family and your parents as well, that maybe is a little bit more difficult for you to come to terms with.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you sit on that?
So last night I met with a friend, and she's a really, really great friend for me. And she spoke with me in something similar, and I realized something. So I have some friends that are really dear in my heart, and they have a lot of pings with their family, where in a way like they desire to have a relationship with their family, but their family do not want that, or that they are there for their family, but their family is not there for them. Now, like when I think about my family is always there for me, even if we were apart for so long. And now I realize, like, I'm not gonna throw that away when the people I really love desire that in something really, really good. And I'm gonna go back and then see what I can do for my family. So perhaps it's like me going now taking on more of the collectivistic values, but I think that's better. But I'm not gonna give up my dreams completely. I think, like I said earlier, that I really like having variety. So perhaps I can just do both things, and then do them like part-time for both things. I think that will be really fun.
100%. And I mean, this feels kind of funny for me to say because I still feel like I'm very young, but being 3 years out of college, I mean, you have plenty of time to work it out. I'm still working out so many things in my life, but I think the amount of growth that I've seen in 3 years, well, as long as you keep trying different things and keep going, just sort of following your heart and whatever other factors, like maybe your family as well, I feel like you can work it out.
Mm-hmm.
So no need to stress too hard about it.
Thank you.
There's plenty of time.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that you decided to do something completely different from what you studied. It's really cool because now I realize there's a lot of freedom after you finish school that we don't have to do exactly the same thing we came to school for.
Yeah. I think it's dangerous to think, oh, well, since I've gone so far down this path, I'm not going to switch because, I mean, if you think that when you're, how old are you now?
21.
21. So if you're thinking, I'm not saying that you are, but if you thought that at 21, well, you've still got what, 60 years of your life or so where you'd be going down the wrong path. Whereas if you just make a change now, even if it was a complete 180, you'd still be spending the majority of your life doing what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So like my advice would just be, don't be afraid to change and
True.
just really follow what you're passionate about.
True. I think the mistake, I would say, air quote, because I don't know any better, that I used to have is I thought life is about completing the tasks of what I thought I needed to do. But now I realize life is truly an adventure. It's doing a hike at a place you don't know. And you're just going to go for it. You don't know what's going to happen next. But just go for it. It's actually more fun that way. And so, yeah, that's what it's going to be for me.
Totally. I think the experience at Augustana for both of us, I think is proof of that. We didn't know what it was going to be like coming here. And we can say, for me, having graduated here and for you just about to finish off, has been a roller coaster of the ride, but it has been the ultimate experience. And we've learned and grown so much because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Well, Shirley, it's been a great conversation. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we finish up?
Not really. Just wishing you great luck for all of the endeavors you're doing.
Thank you very much. And same to you. It's a bit of a tricky decision to make to work out what's going on after you graduate, but you'll definitely work it out. And there's lots of flexibility and options that you have. So no doubt you'll work it out.
Thank you.
And with that, Shirley, Thank you for having me back at college.
Welcome back. Thank you for being back and do this podcast with us.
It's been awesome. It's been great having you on and getting to meet you.
Yes, same here. Very nice to meet you.